Yeah, there we go. So I ended up doing an hour on the bike. Difficulty 11, about 80 RPM, so a little more than 10 calories a minute, at least as the machine said. But that was long enough to get a good chunk of questions. So I'm going to come back to this to that Q&A post over the next couple of days and just go back and pick a couple more questions just to get into. But I screenshotted about 30 good ones, or what is it? Yeah, just about 30 good ones. So a lot lifting related, some not lifting related. And those ones, some of them are actually kind of funny. But first on the list, Matthew Carlson, 1748, tips on getting bigger legs. I think we're all, actually, no, that's not true. We're not all in agreement about getting bigger legs. Damn it, I knew this guy. Is this a cop? I'm parked very precariously. I kind of look a little suspicious here. But I guess I'm good. He doesn't have a problem with me. But Matthew Carlson, 1748, tips on getting bigger legs. How do you do it? I guess how do you do it? Not and why. The why is just to have bigger legs. But I would highly recommend, well, for one, bringing it, right, in an off-season or at least main-gaining phase where you're training hard for the purpose of getting bigger and stronger. But if I'm kind of describing more of like the programming side of things, for me, I noticed, at least in this last off-season, a decent chunk of improved quad gains by leveraging more pressing. I've had this habit of doing a ton of leg extension-based work because leg extensions feel good, and I hit my quads really hard, and I get super pumped from them. But I think I've been missing out from that I don't even know what would, just the loading of a real press. So now instead of what I'd probably say like 75% leg extension volume in my off season, 20% pressing, I've kind of flipped it. So now like the last couple leg days, at least the heavy leg days in this last off season, was like 70-80% pressing volume and then 20% leg extensions. Like starting with leg extensions to warm up my knees and my quads, tons of pressing, squats, Smith squats, hacks, pendulums, and then a little bit of leg extension to finish. But in terms of actually really building them, this is where I still love a barbell squat. Not for a ton of volume, because barbell squats are pretty hard on your entire system. Your glutes, your lower back, you've got a brace, you're freaking balancing all this weight. If you get too wobbly, you could definitely hurt yourself. But the strength that you get from real heavy squats that you take at least near failure, nothing else translates so well. If I do a ton of leg press, it doesn't guarantee that my squat goes up. If I do a ton of heavy squats, I can guarantee my quads are stronger on every other movement. So, I'm not sitting here doing 10 sets of squats, higher volume, but one really intense, solid set of squats in the beginning of a quad day, and then moving on to more isolation, like controlled machine work for quads, I think has worked really well. But that's just my kind of pathway. Maybe you do a ton of pressing and it just hasn't been working for you. Maybe you need to flip it the other way and do more leg extension based work. Just whatever you've been doing, if you don't think it's been working, try something else. And sometimes that something else isn't even something else. It's just try going harder, if you kind of feel me there. But either way, you got to bring it. If you don't hit your quads hard, you can't expect quad growth. I mean, that's just freaking crazy. Let's see, what do we got here? Let's just say Trauma 8799. How do you not overthink training? I love hearing you talk about keeping it simple. So it's easy for me not to overthink the training too much, because at this point I've done a lot of different kinds of training. I've recorded these workouts for the last 3 years just about, but there were 4 years of workouts before this, and I've gone through all sorts of different phases. For a while I was doing 50 sets per muscle group per week volume. So I would hit everything twice a week, like I evenly distributed it. It wasn't push-pull legs, but it was kind of an alternate version. But 25 sets for one lift and 25 sets for the next. And then I've gone through, I had a period of time where I was doing 2-a-days in a 2-day loop. So I would do legs in the morning, arms at night, and then back in the morning, chest at night. And then repeat, because in my mind I'm like, okay, muscle protein synthesis happens over the course of 48 hours after a workout. I should hit every muscle every 48 hours. I should split my body in half. So I was doing basically an upper lower, like I've done all sorts of different kinds of training. So from having done that, it's like I've got all this data that I can kind of calculate and use to think, okay, for me right now, a little less than twice a week frequency is good. I don't do a ton of rest days, so that kind of balances out. I can hit everything pretty hard, still recover and come back. I've been making steady progress. For me, this routine has been working. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Keep going, So it's not as though I just don't even want to think about it, but it's more so if you've got a setup that's working, you almost don't need to think about it too much. You just need to keep doing it and wait for those results to actually come in. Are we more concerned with setting ourselves up for hypothetical success, or actually sticking to a routine consistently and then finding out if it ends up being successful or not? If we're caught in this hypothetical of like, okay, is this going to work? It's like you're playing chess and all you're doing is just trying to figure out what the next move is, but then you never actually move a piece and you're just stuck where you are. There's a phrase for that. It's analysis paralysis. You can catch yourself getting caught up too much in like, oh, should I do this or should I do this? When really the right answer is just do something, find out if it works. If it does, freaking yippee. But if it doesn't, then just try something else. It's a perfect if then. If I do this routine, then I get these results. Good. If I didn't, then I'll do a different routine, and change it up like that. The problem is it takes a few weeks for a routine to actually result in gains. So that's why, we're all so just antsy. Like, is it working? Fuck, it's not working. Okay, I got to switch to a whole new routine, and I got to do push-pull legs, and I got to do upper lower, and I got to do do I do the Menser approach, or do I do the Jay Cutler volume approach? And it's like so much, So at this point, from lifting for this long, like I'm coming up on, this summer is going to be my 8-year mark. And even from the beginning, like sure, I was still a beginner, but that counts as a year, very consistent. Like I've been lifting near daily this whole time. You do get in a tune, at least with yourself, of I know what a pump feels like. I know what a good lift feels like. I know what making progress steadily for me looks like. So as long as I know all that's happening, I'm totally good, So I'm thinking about it. I'm not just completely not caring about my training at all, but I only give it like the amount of thought that it really needs. And the rest of my focus is just on actually making it happen, which is way more important than any kind of like hypothetical setup, if you feel what I'm saying. Bob123H5, bro, you making a video at 12 a.m. It's 12:36. Yeah, stayed up a little late tonight. I can sleep in a little bit tomorrow and kind of make up for it. Davis Reed, how are you tracking your weight in a cut or a bulk? Are you doing Excel or a notebook or notes? It is cool to plot it on a graph after a few months. I used to just do a Google Sheets and track it really specifically. Like I've got months of data from like 2022 onward, but I kind of haven't been doing it for the last year and a half-ish. I sort of, like, just from seeing my weight, I know what I weigh at any kind of certain time. Like, I'm not tracking it so specifically that I look back at the data, but I probably should. Really, I just want a scale that automatically plots it for me, because then I wouldn't have to actually do it. But I know if I'm on track for what my goals are. If I'm bulking up and every time I get in the scale, I know I'm still 250, and I'm 250 every day, after 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, I got to change something. I got to start eating some more food. Or dieting down right now, okay, I'm stuck at 230. Oh, all right, I got to tone it down a little bit. Let's really lock it in this week and see what happens scale-wise. Holy shit, 227, too much. Let's eat a little more food and kind of, make an adjustment like that. But I'm not plotting it down, but it's not so tricky to track for me, just like mentally. Alex Doak 3777, who are you most concerned about competing against at the Arnold Classic? Define concern, like honestly, I'm not really concerned about anybody. And that's not as though I'm saying I think I'm going to win. I'm just saying it's not like we're we're gonna duke it out. Like, we're not fighting. We're all just coming in to show our best look. For me, I think it's gonna be crazy to get to stand up next to a freaking Mike Sommerfeld. Even if I might get kind of mogged. It's just gonna be fun. It's I'm looking at this as a show. Like, I'm coming just to bring my best package. That's all I can really worry about. And I know I'm going to have a ton of fun anyway, because even right now, let's assume the next 6 weeks I don't totally blow it. I'm not planning on it, but let's assume that that's what goes down. Well, I'm just going to be excited to be there, So plus it's one of the biggest shows in the world. If you've never been to the Arnold before, the bodybuilding show section is this massive expo hall with, like, I don't know how many thousand people in there. It's going to be crazy. So I'm not like so concerned per se, as long as I know I bring it and I come in the best shape I can, which has been the plan and has kind of been executed well so far. Well, I'm good. I'm way more excited about this show than my last two, because I know I'm bringing it extra this time. And really, placements is kind of just going to be whatever. I'm still going to look like I look. I won't suddenly get a physique downgrade because I got a certain placing at a bodybuilding show. That doesn't change anything about who I am or what kind of gains I've already made. I'm sure it's going to be a very cool feeling for maybe a Wesley or a Mike to really win the show. Like, that's probably going to be crazy for them. But dude, they've been doing this for a little while longer. I'm just excited to make it happen. Ultranate1594, opinion on Olympic lifts such as cleans. I'm never gonna do them. It's just not my thing. If I'd really only recommend those if you want to do that kind of training. Like, if for whatever reason that's what you want to do, like you want to be able to clean and jerk 315 or like 4 plates, or you're doing like CrossFit training, that would be the appeal. But in terms of actual bodybuilding functionality, I'm going to get way more benefits from specific lifts, like a shoulder press or like a hip hinging deadlift or something. Like, it really has no place in my training. So it's you're never going to catch me do them, that's for sure. Marcelo Costa 9789, when did you realize lifting was more than just a hobby in your life? Probably not that long, maybe months in. I still remember the first time I went up to this gym in Petoskey, Michigan. It was Center City Gym, super cool. It's got like a 2-level like commercial gym and then grungy like heavy gym in the basement kind of vibe. I'm like 17 at the time, maybe, probably only 16, like right when I started working out. And it was like, fuck, we just drove 8 hours. None of the gyms are open. I'm screwed. I can't work out today. And this is right in the beginning of me getting into it. Like, as soon as I really started, I guess you kind of say as soon as I got my first pump, it was basically already locked in from there. I don't know if I had ever had the thought that it wasn't just a hobby, but basically instantly it just kind of matched with my whole vibe. So it kind of it was like I'd say an upward spiral for the beginning, not a downward spiral. Drop Top Boatmobile. Have you ever eaten 2 QNA combos in one sitting? Easily the equivalent, I mean, if I'm going crazy, I'm saying I'm going to eat a bunch of canes tonight, this is my last meal of the night, and then I'm going to bed into a freaking canes coma, then my typical order is going to be Caniac, 6 extra toasts, 6 extra tenders, 6 extra sauces, and a large Sprite. I don't even do the Sprite Zero. I'm getting the full sugar thing. That's that's not typical in terms of I eat that a lot, but if I'm actually going to go to Cane's, it's usually something like that. And then at the end, sometimes especially back in college when I was bulking up, that would be a very typical bulking end of the day meal, like maybe at least once a week. And I'd even just fall asleep on the couch after I finished eating it, wake up the next morning, and I'm like, oh, I woke up carved up to hell, that's for sure. Fossil Fuels 101, how to master mobility for posing. Moving from men's physique to classic physique this year. Shred on. Flexing emoji. Hell yeah. I don't think I'm the guy to ask. I don't have mastery over my mobility. Like, the more you pose and you get a feeling for like opening up your shoulder blades and pulling your shoulders down, and just like making yourself look as big as possible, you get better at like how to do it. And like the more you do anything, the better you get at it. But I would not say I have mastery. You should go look at some Terrence Ruffin stuff. His posing is who I would call Terrence Ruffin a master poser. Like, and I know that's kind of funny to say master poser, but no, he really does know what he's doing. Like when I actually like lock in, like, okay, I picked my song, what do I want my routine to look like? I'm going to watch a bunch of his videos or a bunch of his like posing routines and probably pick and choose little bits to, take and implement for me. I'm not like super artsy. Like I'm not really going to do a full on like crazy routine or anything. Like I kind of keep it basic, but I'll still add a little something. Like if you ever do a bodybuilding competition, classic, I guess men's physique doesn't matter as much because they have you do like very mandatory poses. But if you ever do one, practice a routine, memorize it in your mind, and don't just think about the flexing. Have a little bit of a transition in between, right? If I'm going to go from like a side chest to a back double bicep, just hit like a little in-between pose where like you kind of do a little like, do a hand thing and just anything. As long as you feel and like you look comfortable doing it, it'll look normal, even if it might feel silly when you're practicing it. But yeah, I'm certainly not a master poser, that's for sure. Fletch7548, what do you do when you feel like it's just you and no one else around you seems to have that drive to get stronger and better in the gym and in life? So that's semi-typical. That's semi-typical, especially if you really kind of lock in. You got a little extra, just like drive and kind of hype for the stuff that you're getting into. You look around and you're like, man, shit, fucking, why isn't everybody else doing it how I'm doing it? And it's a little bit of a flawed mentality because, I mean, think about that thought process. Why isn't everyone else doing things exactly like me? Well, that's not how it should be anyway. Everybody else is everybody else, and only you are you. But I've definitely felt like that before. Or if you ever catch yourself, sometimes I try not to, but sometimes I'll come up to the gym. All of the cardio bikes that I like are taken. And these guys, I mean, it's a YMCA. Everybody isn't really like Sam, bodybuilder, big dude, whatever. But not everyone is going to be and do everything exactly like you do. So where's this energy even coming from where that's kind of upsetting you? It's almost a thought process along the lines of like, just let them do what they do. You focus on your own stuff. Don't let any kind of thing distract you or anything. Just if you really are this locked in guy who you think you are, and like you're judging someone else for not being as locked in as you, well, would someone who's really locked in even really care? All they care about is what they're doing and making sure they're getting after their own stuff. It's I'm not saying you should box yourself in, but the more mental focus that you can kind of condense on just this little inner circle of stuff that you do, the people that you like to be around, the places that you're going in your day, that's what needs a lot of focus and attention. And everything else, if you try not to even really think about or like let bother you or just get rage baited by sometimes, like, the better, right? So you're not their dad. Let them do what they're doing. You just focus on what you're doing. It's kind of my logic. But I've definitely had that feeling before, and I caught myself where I'm like, what? Why do I care if this like 65-year-old woman isn't really pedaling that hard? Why am I even thinking that? I'll just do the treadmill. Like we're all paying the same membership. You don't have extra rights to use any piece of equipment just because you're really big or something. So it's a natural thought to have, but it is a wrong thought to have. I think you got to kind of overcome that and just like focus on your own stuff, I think. Inconspicuous Toad, any advice on bulking, discipline, and being less distracted and lazy? So there's a couple questions with this common theme going forward, and how I can kind of describe it is, well, what do you really want? What's the end goal? What's the purpose of what you're doing? Because I feel like I'm in a really good setup going forward with lifting and just bodybuilding and progress in general, because I can kind of flip my goals over like a 6-month period pretty much in a 180 and keep moving forward. Because right now I'm thinking, okay, leaner, bodybuilding competitions, get in shape, extra cardio, that's my shit. That's what I'm focused on. Let's get after it. That's my motivation. That makes it easier for me to stick to my diet. That makes it easy for me not to stop at Wendy's on the way home tonight, because I know, even though I might like to eat it in the moment, it doesn't correlate with what my long-term goals are right now. But once I'm done dieting, my goal is going to change. I'm going to say, all right, now it's time to leverage growth. Now it's time to start beefing up. Now it's time to start putting some more size on. And now I can start eating that food. Now I can start kind of putting it down and make a daily change every day, even just gradually, of getting heavier. So it's like, just focus on the point. Why are you bulking up? Because when I think about that, days where maybe I'm like, it doesn't look like I'm going to hit my calorie goal, and I kind of remind myself, like, okay, I'm in bulking mode right now. I'm trying to gain size. If I don't eat this food, I'm going against my goals. I'm going against my values. What the hell am I doing? I better actually get my freaking meals in, you know? So nothing happens if nothing happens, right? Nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you want to gain size, it doesn't matter how bad you want it, you've got to make sure that your calories and your diet reflects that. So just thinking about the bigger picture gets me more kind of motivated on a day by day to make sure I get all this food in. Same with dieting, but that's a situation in reverse. Tucker Somerville 4887, favorite piece of media you're consuming right now? I can tell you my least favorite. It's anything Instagram reel, short form content related. Every time that I diet, and I don't even feel like I'm not extra like pissy right now because I'm dieting and I'm like leaner. I definitely feel like I was last year, because I really had to crunch the last like 8 weeks of my prep. But since I started so early this time, I feel like I'm just coasting in. Like I'm not even getting so much diet fatigue, but just watching reels and just like, I hate it. I gotta put like a phone timer, like my own parental locks, just so I don't do it. Like, I know I don't even want to watch these TikTok videos, but I still click on it instinctually because the algorithm has convinced my mind that I want to watch it, when really I don't, which is like totally screwed up. But my favorite piece of media I'm consuming is just movies that I've been meaning to watch. Like I just wrote down in my notes, because I saw a clip of that movie about pre-crime, where there's like this futuristic dystopia where this like master computer can predict the future and stop people from committing crimes or something. I haven't seen the whole movie yet, so that's the kind of stuff that I want to watch. That's something where if I sit on the bike for 45 minutes and I watch 45 minutes of a movie I've been meaning to watch, I feel a little bit better about that time, because at least now I've watched this thing I've been meaning to see. If I just look at my phone and like scroll TikTok or whatever, I feel like I just completely killed the time, when I could just have at least watched something kind of cool, or maybe a little bit more worthwhile. Bruin Touche 9543, advice for a power lifter from a bodybuilder. I'm not the guy to ask. You know, I could maybe give you advice from a power lifter to a bodybuilder, but this is kind of the other situation. You got to ask that question in a Q&A for someone who's a power lifter, because they would know a little bit more about that. Because like, I guess you're done curling. No more tricep pushdowns. You're focusing on those, on your 5x5s. I've really got no experience in the field. Moises Cruz L5W, how can I push myself beyond failure? Define beyond failure, you know? Like, are you doing forced reps? Are you having somebody help you? Forced reps would be beyond failure. But the real point here, I think, is just saying, how do I go harder? How do I really take it to 100%? And that's where you kind of have to look within. You got to have your own drive. For me, my setup, especially, because right now, I'm hitting my sets pretty hard. I'm not training light or anything, but my training isn't complete, all-out exhaustion, insane effort set by set right now, because I'm dieting, which kind of sucks, because I like to train like that. But it's probably good for me to have a break, because now all my joints are going to be, kind of extra recovered from not having a ton of force put through them for a few months. Like, I know my knees are going to feel really good when I get back into heavy squatting, because I got to let them kind of relax for these last few months. But on the sets where I'm in an off season, I'm carved up, I'm fed, I'm ready to go. I'm throwing the 150s up, and I'm gonna freaking to get hit 20 reps or something. My setup is pick a song that I really like, maybe like a TikTok Attack on Titan or like Goku or like Rock Lee, kind of edit, get it going, just get myself freaking amped a little bit, take a few huffs and puffs, and then just go for it. And I try not to leave anything in the tank. And usually the hype from the music and just getting myself going lets me do that. But I can't explain it any more than that. It's kind of something for you to feel. It's like asking me like to describe the color red. You kind of just have to see it for yourself, you know. So all I can say is you got to dig deep and dig within, you know, because that's on you. Joseph Katz 6221. What's the diet looking like nowadays? I'll tell you, I'm going to do a full day of eating tomorrow or the next day, and then we'll get a real in-depth look. But very basic, very kind of just plain. Like I've toned back on anything that I'd basically call these things non-foods. Like a ton of protein bars. Now is just about time to get those off the table. And the more that I eat just like oats, rice, ground beef, canned chicken, egg whites, steaks, like the more basic plain foods that I eat, the better I feel. So it's really just a lot of that. I mean, I'm still putting like sugar-free sauce and condiments and stuff, but yeah, that's really most of it. So honestly, not super interesting. But I'll have a full day of eating later this week, and I'll really get into the specifics on like a meal by meal basis. Sunil Makwana 1333. How do we deal with loneliness, especially the ones who are focused as fuck that we ain't got time for anything else? Gym is kind of like my therapy. I enjoy suffering and lifting weights to a point that it governs my mental health. But this has turned into leading to me being isolated in the gym and outside. So he didn't actually drop an F-bomb. He just said AF, but whoops. I'm not going to go back and censor it out. So sorry about that. But I think there's a fine line of what we'd call consistency versus compulsiveness with the gym. I want the gym to add to my day. I want the gym to be something I enjoy to do because I want to do it. I don't want it to ever feel like I have to do it, because I want all my motivation for the gym to come like within. Like, I want to come do all this stuff. I want to do my cardio. I want to get a pump. I want to do my, stick to my calories so I can get leaner. Like, if it's something that I want to do, then I do it even harder. So what you're describing, it might be a situation where you feel like, and this is just, a guess kind of, but why exactly are you so consistent? Is it a feeling where it's kind of a comfort from maybe something else that's going on in your day? Right? I'm not totally sure, but try not to. You don't want it to take over your life like that. I want it to be complementary to my life. I want it to be an activity I'm excited to do every day. If you ever catch yourself feeling this like need rather than desire to hit the gym, it may be ill-sourced. So just do a little kind of reflection and think, why are you doing the things that you do? What are your values? How long have you been doing it for whatever reason you've been doing it for? And just kind of try to adjust accordingly. But that's a deep one. I'm not sure that was even an awesome answer, but definitely worth thinking within about. Book Jungle Loops, some tips to train the lower abs and the V-lines, obliques in parentheses. I like your videos. Greetings from Guatemala. So I'd actually probably recommend not doing any side oblique work. Like if you've ever seen someone grab a kettlebell in one hand and then they do side bends where they're flexing their obliques to like work the side of them, I actually wouldn't really recommend doing direct side work, because when you work a muscle, it is going to thicken up. So if I sat here and every day I did a ton of like rotational ab work and side bends with like 3 plates or something, I really think it would thicken up my waist. Now, doing anything down the front, like regular crunches, you're good. Do as much as you want. So something that actually works the lower abs specifically, Your upper abs, like that top, 4 pack of the 6 pack, is very easily flexed from like a regular crunch or a cable crunch or even a machine crunch, like an ab machine. But those lower abs are a little trickier to hit. So I just did this a couple days ago because I remembered it. I was doing abs after cardio. I don't do it a lot, but I throw them in sometimes. You basically lay down flat, put your hands on the floor right next to your hips, like palms down, and then stick your legs straight up in the air, and you kind of do like a little bit of a hip thrusting, like a humping action a little bit, where you just keep your torso flat, use your hands on the floor to stabilize yourself, and you just pick your hips up off the ground. It's only a few inch range of motion. It's really not a lot. But if you sit there and you do like 10 or 20 reps of those, you will feel your lower abs start to get worked. And I'm not talking like lower, like right by your belly button. I mean as low as they insert, like right over your pelvis. So it looks a little bit silly. I definitely kind of felt a little bit silly when I was doing it. But once you feel the actual burn that it kind of elicits, I think you might think twice for sure. Jacob Breed 2059. What's a part of prepping for a show that you didn't think or know about until you were actually deep into it? I didn't know how much focus it was going to take. Like, for me to do my normal level, like bulks, and the bulks are still intense, but they're just kind of more fun and chill because I can eat a bunch of food. I don't have to be so diet restrictive. And for me to diet down, like, for me, if I was just dieting for me so I could bulk up again, I'd have been done a month ago, maybe even a month and a half ago, because I wouldn't need to get that lean because I'm just going to bulk up anyway. But that's within my wheelhouse. I've got that fine. But to diet this hard and to add this much cardio into it, like it is the primary focus of the day, and you kind of have to be careful. Like, all right, well, I'm probably not going to go out to eat, every so often, but it's like you got to eat kind of specific foods unless you're doing like a cheat day. But that should not be a habit. That's only on like an occasional basis, depending on if you're even actually making the fat loss progress that you want. So it really does take a good chunk of time and focus in your day. So, that's just a lot more than I would have expected. And I feel like I'm this hardcore gym dude, really consistent, like I know what I'm doing. But that first prep was definitely, I'm glad that one I had to really bring it, because actually it kind of set the bar well. So I feel like this prep is going much smoother than the first one. So, I mean, that's kind of a good feeling for me. Zin119, or Zin19, how can you stay this consistent? Like, what's one thing that's keeping you disciplined or making you stick to the set of rules? So, I mean, that's how I'm thinking about it, is it's not a set of rules. Define rules. Rules are just these kind of constraints that are put in place to keep someone in line, right? To kind of control them. And that's not how I feel like I'm following. Like, I'm not giving myself a set of rules and following, like making sure I stay within the lines of them. It's more so I just understand the constraints of what making real progress is. So if I know those are just the constraints, that's what I'm going to do. If I somehow was in like a maze and somebody told me they gave me a map and they said, this is actually the quickest way out, why would I want to mosey around and look other different ways when I know this is just how to do it, right? So it's easy for me to do my cardio and to stick to my calories and to, train a little bit more cautiously and not hurt myself, because I know that's how I can achieve the greater goal of what I'm aiming for. So it's not as though I'm giving myself this set of rules and I'm like giving myself these constraints, and I'm not like, oh, no more eating any good food, oh, you're going to be doing a lot of cardio. It's like, that's what people describe dieting as, because they're not excited about it and they don't want to do it. They only see dieting as these restrictions. They only see, okay, you can't eat this, you got to train a lot, you got to do your cardio, that's all dieting. It's just, you got to make yourself suffer, man. You got to starve yourself. And the reason that they see it like that is because they don't understand the point. Like, they don't care to get, or lose that much body fat, depending on the situation, maybe hundreds of fucking pounds of it. So anybody that doesn't get that and they don't want that, well, they don't see the point, and they don't have to. All right, I see the point for me, so that's what's keeping me motivated to keep doing the things that I know is going to get me to that end goal, right? If I'm sitting here and I've got a 20-hour drive, you know, maybe I got some kind of family emergency, dude, Sam, you got to get to XYZ state right now. You don't have time for a flight, you're driving. You're probably just going to drive straight there because you know you got to. I'm aiming for this thing. The only way I'm going to get there is if I do this, this, and this. Is kind of how I can describe it. James Scholes, life advices for a person in their 20s. I don't know if I'm the guy to ask because I'd say anyone giving life advice, the best kind of accolade they could have is time. Someone who's an older, successful guy probably has a better outlook on like how somebody should spend their 20s because also he's seen a lot of people do it. Like I'm not, what am I supposed to do? Give somebody advice like who's older than me, or sometimes it doesn't translate as well. And also I'm still in my 20s. I'm not done. Like it's still in process. But if I could give what I think would be a good piece of advice is have something extra, you know, like have, and this is for any age, this is just 20s only, but have something extra that you're working on and that you think you can scale in just, whether it's like, I don't even know. Like when it comes to the whole bodybuilding thing and all the social media, when I started working out, like day one Sam working out, in my mind, all I wanted to do was get bigger because that's what I just wanted to be bigger. I just wanted to have fucking big ass muscles. I was looking at old pictures of Calvin von Moger because one of my buddies used to watch him, and that's kind of how it got me into the bodybuilding side of things. And I was like, whoa, that's fucking crazy. I want to do that. And that was kind of the gist of it. And everything else just snowballed afterward. 3-4 years ago, I was more of like a social media hater. Like I'm looking at guys, you know, my age posting different kind of fitness related stuff. And in my mind, I'm looking at them and I'm like, you guys only post this shit because the camera's on. Oh, you know, you're only in the gym so you can make a video. Like that's the whole point. Like, you know, and even back then I was still lifting crazy. I'm like, I'm benching 315 and nobody's watching, or I'm squatting this much. And, you know, that was like my kind of mindset. So I never could have predicted that any of this would have happened. So it's not like that was this grand scheme master plan. But like guys who I like the most, so this is maybe just my own personal bias, but they've got a decent amount of their shit together, enough that they have extra time and energy in their day to have something that they want to work on purely for its own sake. Not because they think they'll get something crazy out of it, not because they think they can scale it up or just whatever, but because they have an actual like innate, passion's probably a good word for just this one specific thing, and they're really into it, right? Like somebody, I'm into all sorts of stuff. I like, I'm going down all sorts of rabbit holes of like different YouTube channels and like whatever. But if somebody comes up to me and they're talking lifting, and I'm not saying like a situation where they're like, oh, it's Sam. I'm saying like, you know, someone really is into the gym, bodybuilder dude, and he comes up to me and he asks me something, and it's a good question, or it's like, dude, it's obvious. I know this guy is on the same wavelength as me because he even said that. That's what gets me going, you know, and you can kind of recognize that across all fields. Anybody who's really into something has this like proficiency, and over time, I think they kind of just get this like confidence as a person because they have this thing that they're working on just for them. It's not for anybody else to see. It's just because they really want to do it, you know. So take with that what you will. If you have something where, as simple as like, yeah, you know what, it would be really cool if I could blank. That's probably a sign you should at least try to do that for a little bit. And if you find out you don't like it, well then screw it. Pick something else. All right? You got time on your hands in your 20s, that's for sure. Or at least that's how I feel about it. UJJ Walshing H1794. What position do you see yourself finishing in at the upcoming Arnold Classic? You're looking great, by the way. Thank you. We'll have to see. Well, sometimes it's hard to tell because someone like me is on the lower level of weight. Like I'm just around my weight cap now, but the guys who are like gonna win, like who like just tops that come in my head is that Wesley and Mike. They're much heavier. They're above the weight cap. Like they're dieting down. They're gonna kind of maybe not struggle, but they're going to very carefully make weight. So they're going to have a ton of muscle in their frame. So really, I couldn't say specifically. I could say this specifically. We'll know on March 6th. That's really all I can freaking guarantee. But let's see, where'd that question go? Has it been hard coaching yourself? Asks Caden Crowder, 6058. Sticking to the plan and not letting your own doubts hold you back. Nah, not really. And this is more of a personal thing for me. But this whole thing, the bodybuilding, just the lifting in general, like me starting the gym, now with all the videos too, I've kind of got a common theme, and that's that I like that it's my thing. I like that it's my individual thing. There's no team. I'm not sitting here in the car calling like, okay, wait, what's the script for today's video? What do you want me to say? Like, there's no shit like that. This is just my thing that I get to work on. And as much as like, okay, I'm responsible for it, I also feel like I get the credit for it, So I don't want somebody invading my thing. There's a question later, I think I don't know if I screenshotted it or not, but it's like, why don't you have a coach? And half of it is like, well, I know how to diet. I think I got a decent gist of like what I want my peak week to look like with my water pulling and carbing up. It's not rocket science. I mean, even just the bodybuilding competing, like that last few weeks of prep, it's just taking normal dieting to the extreme. Like, you're getting leaner than typical. You're going to pull your water carb up more than typical. Like, I think I've got my own gist of it. And the more that I do it myself, the smarter I'll become and get more in tune with my own like response to things. And then I'll be even better at it for me, So part of it's like that. And also now, like with the whole just like social media angle, like I don't need any drama. Like I'm sure that has kind of come across, but I don't like any friction. This is not meant to be like any back and forth or anything with anyone. I want to do my thing and just see what happens. That's how I like it. So for me to coach myself just keeps it more simple. I don't have to send somebody my check-ins. And it's way quicker. I can just look at myself in the mirror. That's my check-in. I don't have to text somebody and wait for them to text back. For me, I just like it. I'm not saying that it's better or that if you have a coach, you're like somehow less than. Like that's not what I'm kind of saying. I'm just saying for me, I'm doing it how I want to do it. Whether that's good or bad, we'll just kind of have to see in the future. This is a whole lot of letters. Do you think you're losing muscle in this diet? Especially because you're looking so lean 6 weeks out. He said a second question, but so he basically said the same thing. Are you going to get a coach? But do I feel like I'm losing muscle too much in this diet? No, certainly not. My average calorie intake over this last week, because I had a couple of extra refeeds, was like 3,600 calories. I've got to track 3,600 over this last week, and I've been steady at like 230, steady. With that much calories, I'm feeling freaking solid. So I'm kind of in the semi-fed state right now. So it's as though this is how I feel like the progression has been. I've been getting leaner. Okay, now it's all right. There's some time left. Let's kind of play around. I don't have to keep losing a ton of body fat every week. I can kind of stay a little chill. And then I'm kind of planning on digging a little more like for the last few weeks before the show, and then starting to carb up into it. Come in as full as possible. But no, I would not say I'm at the point of muscle loss at this rate. Steph Fit, best advice to get out of a lifting slump. I've been lifting for 5 years consistently, and sometimes I don't have the same fire to train. I still get it done every time. I just feel like I'm dragging myself through everything. Thanks, Sam. I don't know. This is getting back to what I said earlier about how I feel really good that I've always got a goal. And I think having a goal is a big-ass chunk of it. Because if you have a goal, that means that you have a why. And if you have a why, you're going to somehow come up with a how, and then, it's just going to kind of ball forward like that. So for me, I'm like, okay, I'm either in a state of getting leaner, dieting, extra cardio, or I'm getting bigger, heavier, more food, stronger in the gym. And in both of those, I only focus on the positive. When I'm dieting, I'm not thinking to myself, Oh, I'm so freaking hungry right now, man. I'm starving. That's not what I'm trying to think about. I never want to think like that. Sometimes I am hungry, but I try not to think that. What I'm thinking is, yeah, I'm getting lean. I can feel that my waist is smaller. Pants that used to be tight because I outgrew them are now actually getting a little bit feasible. Maybe I could bust them out again. And then every time I come into the gym and hit a lean ass pose down, it makes me even that more amped up about it because I know, whoa, this diet's freaking working. And on the other side, holy crap, 260 on the scale, 265 this morning. Holy, whoa. And every time I get to come into the gym, I'm super strong. So 6 months ago was a much fatter Sam, relatively to me, of course. And that doesn't really get to me because I know that's just the price I'm paying in exchange for being super strong, getting bigger and growing, and having really fun lifts. For me to lift bulked is the most fun that I have in the gym ever. I don't look as crazy as I do now, but the feeling of just that strength and size and heft is worth it to me. But it's good to have both sides of that coin because right now I also feel really good because even though the lift portion itself isn't so crazy as intense, the pose down and like the actual visual effect of revealing all that muscle built underneath is triple crazy. So it just kind of plays off each other. So I always have something that I want to work on and enjoy improving, no matter if I'm trying to lose weight or gain it. And by thinking like that, it just makes me feel like it's easier to stick to it. And I've always got something I'm working toward. So I think maybe you got to kind of lock yourself down and say, okay, over these next 3 months, I want to do this. I want to lose 15 pounds of body fat. I want to gain 10 pounds on the scale. I want to build my bench. I want to, something like that. And to have a quantifiable goal that you want to reach usually might make it a little easier to bring it because you're working towards something on a semi-short scale. 3 months in terms of fitness is about as short a scale as you can really care about. A month, not so much. 3 is about right, I think. Andy Milones, if you were to do a last meal video where they make you choose what your last meal would be, what would you eat? So that's a good one. I think since I kind of had an answer in mind and then I already talked about it with that full Cane's combo. Right now, that probably would be it. But if it's my last meal, I'd like to think that I'd be able to get a little bit extra than just food from one place. So I'd probably go all freaking out. I'm talking get a bunch of sushi on the side, spicy tuna roll, bunch of sashimi. That'd be awesome. Some spicy chicken sandwiches. I'm not going to have to worry that it's going to mess up my stomach. That's my last meal. I'm gonna croak anyway, so boom, probably slam 2 spicy chicken sandwiches. Maybe I'll ask for an extended time window of this meal. I could eat a ton of food in 30 minutes, take a break for a minute, come back, eat a bunch more, take a break for a minute, come back for a third course, throw a Ben & Jerry's in there. I think that'd be good. I think a Wendy's, Ben & Jerry's, Cane's sushi combo would be perfect. I could go out at least knowing I got a full stomach after that. If you could sculpt your physique to look like any fictional character, who would it be and why? Asks the all-seeing sloth 5788. If I could pick one, I think I definitely have to pick the JoJo verse. Basically anybody from parts 3 and before. The guy Araki, he was very, I think the gist is he's very inspired by Fist of the North Star, which was this old show, manga, kind of Japanese comic, where the main character is just this jacked ass dude, like kind of like a Japanese version of an American, like Western looking kind of guy. But yeah, JoJo, I'd say if you're walking around like, holy shit, what's his name? Joseph is part 2. Who's the original? Jonathan. Yeah, Jonathan Joestar, a prime Joseph Joestar. That's probably the look if I had to visualize a fictional character look. Bible with Kale, one thing you would say to anyone trying to pursue greatness in something, regardless of bodybuilding or biking or running, gymnastics, education. You've got to, I think this is kind of getting back into what I was saying before about that like goal with your 20s question, but you do it because you want to do it. Because if you actually want to do something and get better at doing something, well, then you don't have to rely on any other external factor to make you do it or to make you want to do it. At least for me, because with the gym, I mean, shit, I just love doing it. So this whole setup just happened to work out freaking perfectly because I'm already going to come into the gym and hit all these lifts. Like I was going to be bodybuilder Sam anyway, no matter what. And then now I kind of added the posting side with just like documenting all the training, and it just has all fed into each other so synergistically. Like honestly, I often catch myself thinking I feel like the luckiest dude in the freaking world because of how all this is kind of lined up. But if you're trying to pursue greatness, apart from maybe just like look at the people who you want to emulate and maybe like see what they think about it, it might just be try to find something you like to do and then keep doing it. Because if you can do that, if you do find something that you really like, odds are the likelihood you're going to keep doing it and you're going to be consistent with it will probably increase. And then before you know it, you're making gains passively, or you're progressing passively just because you want to do it. If I want to study for a class because I find the class very interesting, it's not going to feel like work. I feel like I'm just having fun learning about this thing. You know, it's the classes where you don't want to do it. Those are the ones that feel like a chore, you know? So just somehow find something you want to do, because then it's going to be way easier to be consistent with it. And it's a time game with anything. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So you've got to kind of be consistent with that doing it, I think. Lima Bean 407, were you more of a Gone or a Kilo guy? Definitely a Gone. Definitely a Gone guy for sure. Kilo was a little dark, you know, like he's just kind of in his own world, a nonchalant type sort of dude. Kilo reminds me of a guy I knew in high school. Just kind of go with the flow type dude. I don't know. Gone's a little more fun. Gone's a little more upgoing and just lighthearted. And then also, he's still crazy into the shit that he does, so I feel like I kind of relate to Gone a little more. Favorite Digimon, asks Seb Vara 98. I don't know what it's called, but I screenshotted it. It's this one. There's no way you can freaking see any of that, that's for sure. Well, either way, the main one. But I think... Oh, no, we're good. I'm getting a temperature warning. The camera might totally bug out in a little bit. So if it does, that's just going to be the end. But there's only 3 more questions, so we might actually make it. Logan Meese, do you have any tips on more affordable food options that you used back when you used to work for the city? And then second question, how do you get more confident on camera? That one I can answer very quickly. Just record yourself on camera a lot and try to talk a lot. The more you do it, the better you get at it. But in terms of the food options, I would definitely try to look at the macro per dollar. When I was looking at protein, I'm looking, okay, ground beef, whey protein, egg whites versus getting dozen eggs. What am I paying per gram? Because I need 250 grams a day. How expensive is it if I eat a bunch of ground beef? And then same thing with like, I didn't even get so particular about it, but just getting a lot of like ramen for carbs and rice. Really, ramen and minute rice are like my main off-season carb sources. Maybe not as much ramen now. I still throw it in. But that minute rice is fucking perfect. Fill as much as you need in a bowl. Add like just a little more water so that there's a little bit of a layer on top. Throw a paper towel over it so it doesn't bubble over. Microwave for 5 minutes. It's done. It's perfect. So just kind of do a little math. And I'm sure there's a ton of videos out there, like just forums or web pages that basically break down like the cheapest way to get X calories per day or macros. I'm sure there's very specific kind of plugs for that sort of thing. Borakua 1151, have you tried doing pull-ups consistently? So the idea being, you know, now, especially now that I'm lighter, I can actually do pull-ups pretty well. But no, since I'm lighter and I can actually do the pull-ups, I still feel like I would get more out of just standard pull-downs because I can kind of relax into it and only... There we go. Yeah, I'm not a total amateur anymore. I brought an extra battery. But no, I feel like with the pull-downs, I just get more out of the pull-downs than the pull-ups. Pull-ups are cool. You feel cool. You're pulling your whole body up. It's a full body movement. But if I'm doing back, even if I could do really a ton of pull-ups, I'm going to prefer the pull down because I can actually just get into my lats more. When I do pull-ups, I get a lot of forearms just from like the nature of like using a little bit of body language and swinging. I throw them in on occasion, usually in like a superset style fashion or like pre-exhausted, but not too much. I'm just going to stick with mostly kind of pull down based stuff. There we go. All right. Yeah, last one. Yeah, the camera got a little too hot. Had to let it cool down for a moment. But was the goal always competitive bodybuilding, or did you just start and figure out what you were really good at? Not I mean, how I think about it, and I still kind of feel like this, is my goal has never isn't now to be a competitive bodybuilder. It's more so I want to be that big. Like I want to be the size and like have the cool look of these pro bodybuilders. But the fact that, I mean, technically I literally am now, that doesn't change the physique side of things, Like if for whatever reason I didn't do the Arnold Amateur and I did the Legends Classic in Vegas to qualify for that show, and now that I'm a professional bodybuilder, well, I would still be me how I am right now. So what's more important, the accolade or the kind of physical state of being? You know what I'm saying? So just worth thinking about. But yeah, I feel like even since the beginning, the motivation has been, man, this guy's really big. That seems really cool. I want to do that too. And I'm like, shit, man, that's fine by me. That is absolutely fine by freaking me. But I'm gonna go ahead and get home. I gotta get my butt to freaking bed, and then I've got a lift tomorrow morning. I don't know if it's gonna be back or arms. I guess we'll find out tomorrow. But yeah, those were some good questions. I'll come back to that and do I'll answer like 3 or 4 of those in the car talks tomorrow. So I'll scan around for some other good ones if yours didn't get picked for this one. But yeah, I better get home, so I'll see you tomorrow for that.